Juanse, welcome to the show. How are you, man?
Nico, I'm very honored. I really, when you started the podcast, I just didn't want to invite myself. When you told me that you were going to do this, and the invitation came, and I'm very, very honored to be here. Thanks.
Nah, thank you for being here. First podcast episode of Name to Be Determined. So, um, an idea is floating around of calling it No Cap Podcast, and the funny part of it being that I wear a cap. So, reason why, in case I do end up deciding to go for that name, I've chosen to wear a cap for this first one. Um, anyways, kind of a lot of topics I want to discuss with you about. I think we tend to have a lot of conversations, me and you. It's not uncommon. Many of the phone calls that we have are podcast worthy conversations, I think, to be honest, which is cool. But what I wanted to start with, honestly, is a year ago, a bit more than a year ago, you started this journey of building your own business. And for the people that don't know about it, it's a business in the health and wellness space. What I wanted to ask you is, what is the purpose behind what you're trying to solve with your business? And maybe you can give a bit of insight into what exactly you're doing, um, but also the bigger meaning behind it.
So yeah, it's been a journey, and I'm glad to be able to tell you about this. Mm, it has been a change. It has changed along the way. In the beginning, I was convinced a little over a year ago, like you just said, that doing what you liked was the recipe for a good life. And yeah, this cliche thought that if you do what you love, you will not work one more day in your life and you will just be doing what you enjoy. But I quickly realized work is work. If you if you're doing what you like, or if you're doing something that you're not really passionate about, you're still going to find the way in which you have to be stoic, and in which you have to apply discipline and strength of mind in order to do your job. And as soon as I realized this, I realized that there's no escaping work in life, and there is no escaping sacrifice what you want now in order to get what you'd rather want in the future. This said, what I decided to do was to start a wellness business, because the beginning of my professional career was in the banking space. I was working in the finance world. I didn't hate it. Definitely, I could have continued to do this job, but I did have a lot of trouble sitting down all day in an office, being there and having, like, for my job to be as much as I could be disciplined and sit down there and be a little bit bored, I would be better in my job. I quickly realized when I entered the banking space that movement was the antidote to that physical boredom, which was not necessarily always mental boredom. And this movement was like an antidote, not only in the physical sense, but also in the emotional sense. I came to think of the human body as a machine through which energy flows, as mystical as it might sound. And I think in the end, when energy, and when I say energy, I don't only talk about calories, I'm always also talking about emotional energy, about information. When energy is not flowing through you in the right way, that's when you start having problems. If emotions are not flowing through you in the right way, you might start having emotional problems, depression, whatever. If information is not flowing through you in the right way, you might start having problems in the sense that you feel overwhelmed and stressed and everything, because maybe you have a big inflow of things that you have to do, and not as big enough outflow of things that you're doing that make you feel like you're being productive. And the same thing applies with movement. So I think one of the big problems in the world right now is people are getting the energy, the inflow of energy is there, it's constant. We have a very successful nutrition system in the sense that we have enough available calories. But in my opinion, and that's why I decided to start my business, which is called Thrive, people needed a bigger outflow of energy, a bigger way to let this energy out through movement. And that's where I found my purpose of connecting people to movement in their lives, not only as a means of maybe looking fit or losing weight, but also as a means of fixing other spaces, or maybe not fixing, but making other spaces of their lives better through making it a way of letting energy out. That's the thing.
I think it's a great purpose. And from what I understand, what you're trying to do is help people feel better about themselves. Not necessarily only relating their physical health and how they look, but also, as you said, maybe the flow of energy through their body to make them feel positive feelings, uh, as opposed to negative feelings. My question would be: do you think? And you also mentioned there some of the non-physical stuff, which is very relevant. So, do you think do you think physical health comes downstream of mental health, or do you think it's the other way around? It's Or are they associated? Do you think it's a
It's
flywheel?
super good question. I do think it's a circle. I think physical health nurtures into a healthy mind, and then a healthy mind nurtures into a healthy body. But if you like, we might get into the was it the hen or the egg first conversation. But I do think a good physique, a good fitness comes from a powerful mind. So I think for the human being, for the human being, yeah, for people, a powerful mind is the beginning of a good life. I think everything comes from the mind in the end.
Would you, if you had to start again, would you start with a strong mind or a strong body?
Yeah, it started with a strong mind. Definitely. If you gave me the choice, you can wish for a stronger mind or a stronger body. I'd start with a stronger mind, because I know that with that I would be able to build the
And how
body and the
about
fitness.
if you had to go, let's say, 10 years back, or or 80% of the progress back with any, um like, you can either go 80% back with your mental strength progress, or 80% back with your physical strength. uh which one do you think you would rather go with? And I guess that's a proxy question to the question that I asked before, which is a difficult question to answer: of, does physical health come downstream of mental health, or does mental health come downstream of physical health?
So 10 years back, probably I think I would have chose physical health. You took me. I'm going to go around, and then I'm going to get to your question. But when you were talking, you took me back to my period in which I was playing a lot of tennis, and I do believe that tennis built built a strong mind for me. And tennis helped me build that belief in myself that no matter how big the problem, I can always find a way to fix it. And this mindset has taken me through life in a way in which I am always growing. I am always getting a little better, and I am always persisting. And in this way, I'm continuing to grow in a journey in which maybe some other people are quitting, but I'm not. And eventually I will make it, even if I'm not maybe the strongest player in the beginning. Mm, that said, nowadays, if you tell me, maybe I have a bad day, maybe I have a day in which I am not very disciplined, and I know in those days, the best thing that I can do in order to get my mind right is go do a hard workout, go do a long run, go do something that clicks your mind out of the frustration that you're feeling, because then you're going to be able to feel good in your mind and be able to do the things that you have to do to feel better.
I fully
So
agree.
I do think it's a circle. At the same time, the people that I know that are disciplined enough to do their jobs, I think they have just to find the way to do that click into the physical fitness and the sports space, and they're going to be able to be good there too.
And do you think that's the solution for everybody? I think I prioritize my health a lot. I try and work out every day. I think recently I began to prioritize my rest a bit more, and maybe we can delve into that a bit later. Like, how much should we rest? Because I know you're not a bit of a maniac, but you're a maniac when it comes to sport. I'd love for you to delve a bit into how you structure your workouts and how much you really work out, because I think you're probably in the 1 percentile of the people that work out the most in the world, if not more. Anyhow, um, what I was getting at is there's a lot of people that the solution might not be to become, or they just not don't want that. Does your does the idea or the purpose behind what you're trying to build involve trying to make those people realize that the solution to some extent of feeling better about themselves is related to delving into their physical fitness, begin doing sports, and getting their body in movement?
Super nice question, because sometimes I think in life you have to realize that the solution to your problems isn't necessarily deeper inside your problems. And many times in life, I do think we make the mistake of thinking, to get better to get better in this sense, I have to dive deeper into this. But sometimes we're just deep enough. And what we know, the solution to feeling better, to doing things better, sometimes it's outside the problem.
Mm, for
So
sure.
I do think it's a good strategy for people that maybe have a very good professional life, but still don't manage to feel like they're fulfilled with this life, or something of that sort. Same with the very good family life. And what they actually really need is to take better care of their bodies. And probably this is going to allow them at an emotional level and at a stress level to feel better emotions, to be able to process what the experiences that they're having day after day in a better way.
Got it. What would you say are this is a difficult question maybe, but this is your area of expertise, so probably a breeze for you. What are you get a customer, maybe successful woman or man, uh, in the professional world. Maybe they don't have their fitness super dialed in. Uh, Imagine them 40 or 50 years old, between their mid 40s. What do you do to assess the level of their fitness? So, what are the markers that you evaluate? And once you have those markers evaluated, what are the actions you prompt them to take in order to begin supporting them in their health journey?
Okay, so when you get a person to that wants to improve their health, they already did the biggest step they can do, and it is like, to if they're contacting you, they understand that through their activities and through their decisions, they have an impact they can have an impact in their health. This is a thing of our generations, and sometimes we assume that our parents' generations and our grandparents' generations had this mindset, and they normally don't. They think in order to impact your health, you have medicine, but not lifestyle. Mm, Once they've done this step, the first thing you have to assess is, are they overnourished or are they undernourished? Rarely you got people nowadays that are undernourished, so probably they're going to be overnourished or they're in a balanced state at a metabolical level. If they're overnourished, the first thing you have to do is, like I talked previously, you have to adjust the inflow and the outflow of energy in order to get these people on the right track to being in an energy balanced state, to be normally nourished and not overnourished.
It's funny
This
because
is
before you were referring to energy, and now when you say this inflow and outflow of energy and setting the right trajectory, it sounds a lot as if you're speaking about calories. Um,
Yeah, in this case, I am, because in the end, you calories and losing or gaining weight is a calorie game, which is the calories you burn every day, the calories that your body needs to exist. That is not a magical number. It's a number that it's defined, but by how much activity you do and the size of your body, basically. And then there's the amount of calories that you consume.
okay. So, do you have somewhat of a framework that you follow when someone comes to you and tells you, Juan, look, I have 3 children. I work a 9 to 5 job, which often is a 9 to 7 job. Um, but I've been feeling sluggish. I'm not super happy with where my health's at. Maybe when I go for vacations, I cannot keep up with my children when they're out and about doing fun stuff. I feel a bit slow. Um, and if it's a woman, she says maybe when I'm gonna go to the beach, I wear a bodysuit instead of a bikini. What's the framework you would follow with a person like that?
The framework is, you perform an assessment of how this person feeds themselves, and you perform an assessment of the amount of activity they have. Uh, and you also perform an assessment of the amount of muscle mass that they have. This is normally done with a machine. And with this data, you first have to discover the amount of calories that this person can consume every day to be in a balanced state. And then you try to increase the outflow of calories, the usage of calories through activity. This is the best way to do it, but at the same time, it's the most time consuming way to do it, because this includes walking, exercise. So if the person is rich in time, it's not a time poor person, this is the best strategy you can do. Why? Because you're pulling their metabolism up. Instead, if the person is time poor, if the person doesn't possess a big amount of time in order to invest in these new activities, you have to cut on the calories consumption side. The problem with this is you're doing the other thing. You're pulling their metabolism down. So in the long term, this is going to cause this person to have a slower metabolism. And for this adjustment that you made through nutrition to be every time less powerful, which is a problem. So ideally a mix of those two, but many times you have to do more of one or more of the other.
Is this at all related with? I once heard this. I think I was listening to a podcast and they were saying something along the lines of, if you assess the calorie consumption of, I think there was this tribe in Africa of hunter gatherers, one of the few still tribes in Africa that are still hunter gatherers, people that are all day long out and about, um, doing activity, and you then go and assess the calorie consumption of someone that works an office job from 9 to 5, their metabolisms adapt to, on average, still consume similar amounts of calories at the end of the day. So,
Yeah, it's very very related. The thing with these tribes is they don't eat a lot and they do tons of cardio every day, so they become very efficient. In the modern day, in modern life, not in the savannas, uh, what you want is to have the biggest possible metabolism you could have, which means having a lot of muscle, and not being very not forcing your body to be very efficient in terms of calorie usage. So you try to gain as much muscle as you can. The case with these people in Africa, these tribes, is they don't have a bunch of muscle. So that's probably a way that their body has found in order to be as efficient as possible with their calorie consumption, in order to drive it down and for them to be able to survive these types of movement day after day with the amount of calories they consume. So yeah, it is related.
okay. And would you say, so I always had this idea, and I think my belief behind it is that sometimes people do it the wrong way when they're trying to improve their health, because they say, okay, this year 2026, I really want to hit it off with my health journey. So they decide, they end up taking two actions more often than not, which is, one, I'm going to work out more, I'm going to be more active. Two, I'm going to reduce the amount of calories I eat. Let's speak about someone that is not in terrible health, so not someone that is obese and going to eat McDonald's 2 times a week. Uh, Someone that has an okay health, of maybe they're not in the best shape of their life or the best shape they could be. Is this something potentially wrong, given that they're going to be burning more calories and eating less calories, so they could, on the long run, mess up their metabolism?
Yeah, this is a super good question. The problem here is, for me, motivation is very fleeting. Motivation for me is an emotion. And these people often they ideate their new systems in order to lose the weight they want to lose with the mindset of I am motivated and I can do it. It's it's a beautiful feeling, motivation. And sometimes when I'll be back to what you just asked, but I wanted to tell you that sometimes when I'm running, I feel so motivated because I have this big release of endorphins and everything. And so I'm very often I think, I hope I can feel this way when I arrive home, in order to get to work with just as much motivation as I feel right now. And it very seldom happens, even if I get back home from the run 1 hour after I was feeling this amount of motivation. This is to explain to you how fleeting motivation is. Why am I telling you this? Because many times what you will do is to start doing something like doing a 60-minute workout every day or every other day, and also eating things that you don't like at the same time. It's not that you cannot do it at the same time, but sometimes you load yourself with so much sacrifice and with so much compromise that it's something that it's not going to last. Mm,
In the end, I think self discipline is a fuel that you can only draw from to a certain extent. I think there's been plenty of studies that show that once you once you begin, it's like a bank, and you begin taking energy out of that bank. Like by the third time someone offers you a cookie on a certain day, it's very likely that you're gonna eat it. Um,
Yeah, you can last 2 weeks, maybe a month, but what your body really needs in order to create a really important and valuable transformation, it's years. So you
Consistency.
do a better deal creating a practice that you like, even if it's short, and growing it little by little until it becomes part of your identity, which is the strategy that I really like to apply with my clients.
I think that's how you achieve anything in life, to be honest. We spoke about it a bit last time we were together in Colombia. Um, I was telling you, when I started working out, I did it just for my own sake. I never really had any big goals. And this winter now, we were together in the gym, and I benched 235, and I think the statistics show that if you bench 225 pounds, you're already within the one percentile of strongest people. I think easier to bench. It's easier to get into Harvard or become an investment banker than benching 225 pounds. And it was never a goal. And maybe if you begin going to the gym with the goal of, okay, I want to be in the 1 percentile of the people that bench the most weight in the world, you might fail. You just need to start little by little.
And you have to learn to like it. I think your best and your first objective whenever you start a thing in which you want to become good is learn to like it, because excellent people always like what they're doing. I've seldom seen, or maybe never, someone that is excellent at their craft and they say, look how good I am at doing this, and even though I hate it, it's not natural.
It doesn't make sense if you think about it. Like, oh, I really hate this. Look how good I've become. It's usually
No,
the complete
exactly.
opposite. I'm so passionate about it. I love this. Um, and maybe I don't know if you want to give some insight into my question before, which is, would that ruin your metabolism? Like, would increasing your energy expenditure and decreasing your energy consumption for a long time be worse than simply just increasing your energy consumption, sorry, increasing your energy expenditure and not impacting your energy consumption in terms of calories? Would that be kinder to your future self, considering there might be weeks in the future or months in the future in which you just don't have the time or don't have the motivation to be going to the gym all the time? You know, I fear, I just one quick thing. I fear that if I begin playing with my calorie consumption and, let's say, begin working out a lot and eating very little, sure, I'll get very shredded. But if I do that for long enough, I wonder when I'm 40 and I have children and maybe I don't manage to work out as much as I do now, will I have to eat the same percentage that I was eating in terms of my consumption to calorie expenditure as I was to do now? You know, does that make sense? I don't think I'm putting it very clear, but
Yeah, but you might kick your body into a stress state. And here many people make the mistake of being very mystical about this and telling you that stress might drive your metabolism down. And no, it's not. Like, stress is not a magical thing that ruins your body. Stress is, as everything, it's a thing that it can be greater or it can be smaller, and you always have stress in your life. if you go too hard on your body in the sense of what you're saying, putting yourself into a caloric deficit plus adding exercise, assuming that you would last, because normally what happens is that people don't last. But assuming that you would last, what could happen is you could compromise the amount of muscle you're building, because cortisol isn't a hormone that helps you build muscle. So it's not the fact that it's not going to work. It's the fact that even if you are able with your mindset, with your very strong mindset, because this would take a very strong amount of discipline to do, even if you're able to lift harder every day and eat less every day in order to get shredded, in the end, you're doing it the hard way. Even if people think, no, the fast way is the easy way, maybe in this case, the fast way is the harder way. Instead, if you say, okay, instead of having success in 2 months, I'm going to have success in 2 years, it's going to be easier. You're going to build more muscle, and you're going to build the kind of behaviors that will take you, like you said, 10, 15, 20 years from now, to the point in which you're able to stay fit, for it not to be a fleeting state, but to be a state that you're constantly in, without having to sacrifice time with your children, work. In the end, one of the good things about this fitness space is that once you've built a certain amount of muscle and healthy muscle and a certain amount of VO2 max, of cardiovascular capacity, it's very difficult to fall off the tracks. It's
Okay.
very difficult because you have a very strong metabolism and you also really like it. So you like it so much that it's easier for you to, even when you fall off track because you went on vacation or because you have a hard day, a hard week at the job, it makes it easier because it's part of your identity to fall back into track.
In that case, and I think it makes sense. I think people that were healthier when they were younger have an easier time um, staying healthy when they're older. Maybe you could think about it or say it in the following way, which would be the best predictor of future health is past health.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but then why do you see footballers like Ronaldo, like not Cristiano Ronaldo, but Ronaldo Nazario, who were in the peak of their fitness when they were 20 to 30, 35, and now they're fat and they don't look to be, they don't
Unhealthy,
seem to be in their
very
healthiest.
healthy.
Is that because they give up, or they're just too tired of following that healthy lifestyle? And is being healthy during your 20s and 30s an insurance of remaining healthy for the rest of your life, or will you always need to put a little bit of work?
First of all, responding immediately to the last part, you will always need to put in a little bit of work, and that's the reason why liking it is the best strategy possible. Regarding these people, like that you tell me that they have after some years of retiring become unfit, and one time in one moment in their history they were the best. I would tell you the thing here is there's no free lunch. Mm, if you work in, if you get things and not, you don't do it in the right way. For example, if you work out a lot, but you're the person that is used to also binge eating and going to the buffet and being the one that eats everything and takes your body to the limit of the amount of food that you can take, or maybe even you drink alcohol and you like to get drunk, you can still gain a very good amount of fitness, especially if you're working out every day like a professional athlete. But these habits will stick. So in the end, the day that you stop doing your practice, the other habits that you build of drinking, of eating excessively, will damage your body.
Yeah. You end up paying for everything in life.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I do believe there's no free lunch.
Okay. I agree. I agree. Um, Now there's something that I've always really been curious about, which is I used to be like you, uh, a tennis player when I was younger. And often when you're playing tennis so much, you're doing mostly, it's, you could say it's more of resistance training than strength training. But now I extrapolate that to more recent life, and sometimes I am more in a phase in which I'm going on runs, and sometimes running I can't bear it. Like right now, to be honest, if you ask me to go on a run, I would really dread it at the moment. A year ago,
Mm-hmm.
I was running a lot. My question is, what is the difference between, like, should we prioritize resistance or strength training? Because right now I'm in a stage of my fitness journey on which I'm prioritizing strength training much more. Still, I do like quick warm up in the gym, maybe a bit of stairmaster, some rowing, to warm up the muscles and like increase my heartbeat. But I'm prioritizing strength training a lot. And from what I've heard, seems like strength training it's better to build metabolic health. And resistance training is better to, like, it's like a short-term solution. And strength training is a long-term solution. I don't know if I'm putting it right, but maybe you can shed a bit of light into it.
So the best way to think about this is to think about it in layers. So layers of people. So you would have the general population. Then the second layer that you have would be the people that general population being healthy people, but people that don't work out and that aren't fit yet. Then you'd have the people that need to lose fat. Then you would have the people that are fit, and then you would have the athletes. So that those would be the four layers that you have. For the general population, the best thing that they can do is lift weights. Because if they lift weights with the day-to-day walking that they might do in the grocery store to go to the bank or whatever they might do, it's enough. Maybe eventually they climb a flight of stairs or whatever, but at least in any case, if they're lifting weights, their heart is getting the workout of having to reach the 150s, the 155s in order to lift that last rep or whatever. So even if they're lifting weights and they're focusing on the strength training, they're getting some of the benefits of the cardio that the lifting gives you. The other way around instead, they don't get it. So if you go for a walk, you're not going to get a muscular stimulus. Even if you climb some flights of stairs, it's not a big muscle stimulus and it won't make your body want to build more muscle. Then you have the fat loss population. For the fat loss population, what you need to do first is, like we talked earlier, to take them to being not overnourished. So in that case, what you need to do is apply nutrition and a little bit more of zone 2 cardio, of uh, resistance training, but not very hard, not the one that drives your stress levels up, but the one that you can keep going during 90 minutes.
Mhm.
Then you would have the fit people. When we're talking of people that are already fit, which would be, for example, a case like yours or like mine, in this case, you ideally the response would be both. You want to do strength training to continue to build muscle, or if you're over 40 years old, to at least maintain it. It's not impossible, but it's difficult to build additional muscle after 40 years old.
Mhm.
Uh, so you want to keep it, and you want to drive your aerobic capacity to the maximum possible, because your aerobic capacity after 40 years old, it's going to start decreasing. And not only for longevity, but also for like being well, not only for living longer, but also for living a better life. It's going to be impactful having reached a higher amount of VO2 max. This is going to allow your muscles to work better, but also your immune system, also your lungs, also uh, your organs like your digestive system. Everything is impacted by a bigger VO2 max.
Okay.
And then finally, you have the athletes. Yeah, and athletes, they definitely also for performance, they need to do both of them. Of course, depending on the person, if you're a fit person or an athlete, you want to cycle it the right way. Because it's when I'm saying you should do both, it doesn't mean that you should do 3 hours of exercise every day, in which you
No one does. I think only
exactly.
only you do.
Yeah, no, but you shouldn't. You shouldn't. You should cycle it.
How important is rest? Like, would it be crazy to work out 7 days a week? Let's say, imagine doing a split of 3 days of cardio, 4 days of strength. Would that be too much, or would it be smart to get at least 1 or 2 days of rest in between on a weekly basis?
Rest is very important, and you can very easily spin your wheels like a car that is stuck in the gravel and spinning their wheels. It's very easy to make that mistake in the physical and fitness world.
Like,
So,
work very hard and achieve very little.
exactly. It's very easy, and it's also very easy for that to happen to you and for it to go unnoticed. Because in the end, you're burning the calories and you're being able to eat a lot and you're not gaining weight. But if you're more ambitious than that, if you want even better results than that, many times you can rest more and get better results. And that's actually, I think, the last 6 months of my fitness experience have been demonstrating me that I can do much less and not only maintain my results, but many times even get better results. You do have to think strategically about it. It's not like you just say, just going to rest 2 days a week. Let's do, I don't know, Thursdays and Sundays, and suddenly my fitness is going to be better. Ideally, you want to be able to have very hard days, because hard days build you, recovery days, and easy days.
Okay.
And if you mix those 3 types of days in your system, it's going to work out in your favor.
So let's take someone in the already fit people um, layer that you were speaking about before. Because why someone there? Because I think many of the people that are gonna end up listening to this are gonna be in, if anyone listens to this, are gonna be in that layer of the population. How, let's say the average person in that layer, how would you structure their workout routine? Uh, Mixing between tough days of workout, easy days, and recovery days.
Okay, let's assume this person wants to have a very good performance in running, or maybe they like tennis or whatever. So they want to have a strong cardio base. And let's assume this person wants to be ripped or like look good, man or woman, doesn't matter. The way I would like to structure their system would be hard day, medium day, no, hard day, then easy day, then medium day, and then rest day. So it would be like a 4-day cycle,
4 day split.
a 4-day split in which they have a hard day, an easy day, then a medium day, and then a rest day. And
And would
they
a hard
go
day
through
be
it every
something
time.
like would a hard day be something like a high intensity interval training where you're mixing cardiovascular strain and also putting like taking your muscles to failure, or not necessarily? Like, can a hard day be a day in which you simply went quite hard on your legs, you took 2 or 3 sets to failure, but you didn't necessarily do any type of cardio training?
So for me, a hard day would be a 90-minute session in the gym in which you really loaded your bigger muscles. And maybe you even added some type of zone 2 cardio, like you depleted your energy stores.
Is it
The
90
following,
minutes too long?
yeah, I'm adding in both the lifting and a cardio session. This is going to force your body to be able to create not only strength but also endurance, because we don't only want to be strong for 30 minutes. Sometimes, especially if you're an ambitious person, you want to be able to eventually run a half marathon, eventually do a high rocks race that they are now in fashion. So for this type of people, sometimes working out more than 60 minutes is a good idea. Like I said, it's something that you do maximum once a week, not much more. It's different if you're an athlete, but we're talking about people that are passionate about
In the
fitness,
fit
but
layer.
they're not exactly. Then the second day, do you want to jump to the second day, or do you have more questions about the first day?
I think, yeah, let's jump very quickly, run quickly through second. Like, that would be easy day, medium day, and what would the recovery mean? Would that be probably like a longer walk, or would that be complete recovery, or would that involve maybe like some stretching on the fourth day? Is it active recovery, or just that day I'm gonna lie in bed, watch a movie, and eat some ice cream?
So the easy day would be like upper body lifting session. That could be a short session, or maybe if you're feeling more like running, that day could be an easy run, 5 to 10 kilometer run, but with an easy pace, never going above the 150 beats per minute. Then the medium day, normally you could do the high reps workout, or the upper body strength session. And then on the easy day, ideally you could go for a walk. The
The
idea is for
recovery
you to
day.
keep exactly the recovery day is for you to go for a walk, ideally not running, and just let your body recover. And this system works magic for many people.
Is that the system that you would say most of your customers have had success with? The people that you work with?
Mm, so mm, I most of my customers want to lose weight, so they're in the fat loss population.
Okay, so not
Mm,
necessarily so many of them are in the fit layer.
exactly. And for them, I have them working out 5 days a week normally, and they do hard day, easy day, hard day, easy day. For me, but for them, a hard day is like a 60-minute session of lifting, and an easy day, it's a 20-minute session. The good thing about this system is they normally get very used to training, so they start creating the habit. And they also have the flexibility of putting the lifting days strategically in the days that they really have the time. And when they don't have the time, they can do the 20-minute sessions that keep them running.
It's interesting to see what moves the needle when you're in that part of the population, you know? For me, and I don't mean to sound cocky when I say this, but for me, a 20-minute workout doesn't register, you know? And I think the more I continue to train and develop my health and my fitness, the more it's gonna take in order for me to see progress. Um, Before, I think I felt like I used to increase the weights of my workouts by the session, you know? Let's say week 1, I would lift 10 kilos in bench press. And then week 2, I was already lifting 12. And then week 3, 15. And now I'm to some extent, I think I've reached like a ceiling, or I'm reaching ceilings frequently or not too frequently. And how relevant is to continue increasing the weights once you feel like this weight is difficult enough, you know? Let's say if I'm doing a incline bench press with 30 kilos in each dumbbell, would that
So,
be heavy enough for me to grow my chest for the next 4 years? Or do I need to continue pushing to increase the weights infinitely?
okay, so the best coaches in the world normally are very emphatic about knowing what their athlete wants. So what do you want? If you want to increase strength, you have to be trying to increase at least 1 kilo every session.
Okay.
So if you're doing the incline press, you have the 1 kilo discs that you add every session and you try to increase little by little. This really works. The what they called it progressive overload. It's very key to continue progressing. Many times people are not interested in creating more strength. They're not passionate about being the guy that lifts the most weights in the gym. In this case, you can do different types of strategies to make your muscles still grow and still hypertrophy. In this case, you can do time restricting lifting, you can do
Is that like
drop
reducing the
sets.
amount of time between every set?
Exactly. That definitely generates more muscle tension. And this is because when your muscles get near failure, the amount of fibers that your muscle has to recruit grows exponentially. So by resting less, you're getting nearer to the failure state. So even if you don't increase the weight, your muscle tension is increasing. And it's the same if you do a drop set, because in that case, you're also, just to be clear, what a drop set is, it's a set in which as soon as you're getting tired, you reduce the weight and you continue to lift. And you do this once or twice or maybe even 3 times in order to get your muscles very near that state of failure, because that state of failure is normally related with a lot of muscle tension and a lot of muscle fiber activation. And this is going to generate muscle growth. So that's the way you can, through different strategies, generate hypertrophy without the necessity of increasing the weight in every session.
Under that idea, a 20-minute workout could register, in your opinion, for me. Like, let's say going to the gym for one day, I leave the office late, have dinner afterwards with friends, and I only have half an hour to work out. Could in many of those instances, I'm just like, I didn't manage to fit a workout in my day today. I'm gonna skip it, my rest day. Could it still be like, okay, today's gonna be my easy workout, and I'm just gonna go to the gym, target a smaller muscle group, let's say a biceps and triceps, and I'm gonna do bicep curls, tricep extensions, bicep curls, tricep extensions, all the way for 20 minutes, reducing weights as my muscle continues to fail? Would
That's a
that
super
be
good idea. It would be effective. Additionally, because you're increasing the frequency that your muscle works, and this, like, it's more cycles of the muscle straining and recovering. And the more frequently that your muscle gets strained and then recovered, the more it's going to develop. Then the other thing that you could do for short workouts is just generate metabolic efficiency to your body. So doing circuit training, high rocks training, all these all these types of trainings in which you take yourself to this fatigue state. And in those type of trainings, definitely you can create a very big amount of fitness that is going to make you a better lifter. It's going to make you also better in the resistance space with the running or with the tennis or whatever, because it's going to make you good at performing even in the lack of oxygen, so anaerobic work. And these workouts normally take short periods of time. These workouts can be done in even 15 minutes. The famous AMRAPs that the CrossFitters use, they're very good workouts in order to create fitness even when you're short on time.
Got it. I also wanted to speak a little bit about what we put into our body.
Mhm.
Not from a caloric standpoint. I think that's a very complex topic, and we could leave that for a different time. But supplements. What supplements should someone be looking at that are, you could think of them as low hanging fruit, things that you can, maybe they're not too expensive, and also are going to give you great health benefits in the short or medium or long term. Um, I've heard a lot about creatine. Maybe we can speak about that. But are there any others apart from creatine and protein that we could begin to use as young people that are looking into fitness?
Yes. So for me, protein and whey protein, the protein powder, is, I always tell it to my clients, it's no longer a supplement. For me, it's a food. Uh, Even if it's super processed, it's a very, very positive food for your body because it allows for a bunch of muscle recovery and muscle building. It's not necessary, but you have to know it's not, even if it's not necessary, it's something that it's making your life easier, because being able to, with a half a glass of water or with a glass of water, to ingest 28 grams of protein, it's something from another world. Normally, you have to eat a big amount of food, which many times you don't possess nor the time, nor the, yeah, or
Energy,
the appetite
hunger.
to eat all of this amount of food. So the protein shake is making your life easier. I super recommend it, but it's not necessary in terms of supplement because it's not giving something to your body that your body doesn't have. It can help you if you're not eating the right amount of protein that you need, which normally it would be 2 grams of protein per kilo of body weight, around there. Then let's go to creatine. Creatine is the most important
Before
supplement. Yeah.
before we go into creatine, you said 2 grams of protein per kilo of body weight. Is that for muscle growth or for maintenance? Or regardless? Because it's very ambitious.
For muscle growth. For muscle growth. If you're lifting, if you're not lifting, you can go by with 1.6 grams per kilo. Also, if you want to lose weight, increasing the ingestion of protein, it's going to help you because your body has a harder time creating energy out of protein. So sometimes some of the energy is lost along the way.
Okay.
So eating a high protein diet allows you to increase a little bit your caloric deficit, which if you're trying to lose weight is fundamental, without eating less, which is a very good strategy.
What I've heard is fats and carbs are more likely to become calories within your body. You
Yeah,
process them more.
exactly.
Like your body process more of those calories into energy, whilst protein not so much so.
Exactly. With a protein, you can be able to consume only 80 to 90%, whilst with carbs, you normally consume 90 to 95% of them as energy. And with fats is normally 96 to 99% that you consume as energy. And normally it goes directly to your fat storage. which doesn't mean, anyways, carbs will find a way to get into your fat storages and also protein eventually, which, because I don't want people to think that I'm saying that fats are more easily absorbed as fat in the body, and then you should definitely eat less fat and more carbs. It's not the rationale. But normally, the fats that you eat during the day are the same fats that your body simply takes from your digestive system and puts them into your fat storages. It's just easier for your body to do.
Yeah, makes sense. Creatine.
Going back to creatine, yeah. So, what does creatine do? And what is it? Because many people are very confused about this. The first thing I always tell people is your body makes creatine by itself. And your body also is able to take creatine from the meats you eat. So creatine is a very normal compound to your body. It's not nothing that is strange for your body. How does your body use creatine? It stores it in the muscle, and this creatine normally causes, like, this is a byproduct. This is like a result of the creatine. It causes your muscle to get a little bit more full of water.
Mm-hmm.
But that's not the benefit that you're looking. Creatine, in reality, is a tool that your muscle cells use to create more energy and to create energy with more ease. Why? Because sometimes glycogen, which is the source of energy that your muscles use, isn't very available or isn't very resilient. So when you maximize the storage of creatine in your cells, what you're doing is giving your muscle more resilience and making it more easily adaptable to energy needs. This is very healthy because when you have a more resilient body to energy needs, it makes you less propense to going into a stress mode for your cells. What's the thing? I wanted to put an example in this part of with this question because I want people to really understand. Let's assume that you live on rent and that your landlord is a prick. And let's assume that you have 3 bank accounts and you have a salary of 300. And your landlord says, okay, I'm a prick and I like to play. So what I'm going to do is every month, I'm going to ask for you to pay rent on a random account on a random day. And your rent is 80. Let's say your rent is 80. So what you would do would be, okay, I'm going to put 100 of my salary, which is 300, in each account. And when this guy decides to ask for my rent, I hope that each of those accounts is going to have at least 80. But let's say that one day you went out for lunch with your girlfriend and you spent 30, and your landlord decided to charge you precisely that day on that account. So you had 70 and your landlord charged you 80, and you're in trouble because you don't have enough amount of money to pay for your rent. If you had creatine, let's assume all the conditions are the same, but you talked to your bank and you told them, okay, please, I want you, since my landlord is a prick, to let my accounts go into overdraft. So if my account goes to 0, I want you to lend me just for one day the other money
10.
that I'm missing the other 10 in this case, for that day. And then on the next day, I'll just transfer from the other accounts, which will most likely have money, to the account in which my landlord charged. And your bank says yes. So this is creatine. Creatine is a molecule that it's allowing your body to be more resilient to whatever surprising need of energy that can come. many times this surprising need of energy comes in the brain because you are working and you feel stress or you slept less or whatever. So that's why creatine makes us very stress resilient, and why it's every time we're finding more benefits of creatine, especially for women. Because women, in the end, they normally have less amount of muscle mass. And also they, because of having a smaller body, they normally create less creatine every day. So supplementing with creatine for them is more beneficial.
Okay. That I love the analogy. I think it makes it very obvious, and or it makes it more understandable. Especially, I want to delve. I don't know. I know you're not like a big expert on the neurological aspect of things. We can leave that to Andrew Huberman. But uh, I have heard a lot about the benefits of creatine on the brain. Let's say one day you slept 4 hours and you do a big dose of creatine on that specific day, and that's going to help you perform mentally in a similar way as you would have if you would have left you would have slept the whole 8 hours that you were supposed to. Um, what is the ideal dose? I When I first started taking creatine, I think 2 or 3 years ago, 3 years ago, people said 3 grams a day was the ideal dose. Now it's 5, but I've also began hearing people that are taking 10-gram
10.
doses of creatine a
Yeah.
day. Should we just assume that it's 10 and begin taking 10? Are there any negative side effects from taking too much creatine?
So the reason some people are afraid of creatine, it's because when you do the renal tests, they normally, one of the ways that they use to measure if you're
Kidneys?
thank you, one of the ways you use to measure if your kidneys are working well is a thing called creatinine. The thing with creatinine is that if your kidneys are letting it through, it's a sign that your kidneys are not working well. If you consume creatine, it will be likely that some of the creatine is going to pass through to your urine tests. So many years ago, doctors were thinking probably creatine is making your kidneys work in the bad
Worse.
way. But then they started to notice that it's not the case. It's just that the creatine it's coming through, but because you're consuming it.
Okay,
So
so
some of it you're not able.
it only increases your test results. It doesn't affect the organ itself.
Exactly. That's
Got
the
it.
thing. So up to now, there has been no studies that demonstrate that for people with healthy kidneys, they're having trouble with creatine. They're having creatine that is causing problems in their body. Right now, I'm consuming 10 grams a day, especially because at a level of when I maybe sleep less or whatever, I think it might make me more resilient. I don't think you need 10 grams every day. I think when you slept a little bad, you can double your dose. But normally, I think the ideal dose is 5 grams. I don't think
Okay.
you need much more of those. But I'm not able to tell you what could be the problems that it would generate to your body to increase the amount from 5 to 10 grams every day. I have heard, and this is completely anecdotal, that it can increase a little bit the bloating and the subcutaneous water retention, which with 5 grams it shouldn't be the case, because with 5 grams what creatine is doing is filling your muscles with water, but not subcutaneous, not
You
in
look
your skin.
you look better, not worse, with 5 grams. Maybe if you take more, I mean,
You can look bloated.
some anecdotal evidence that you've seen maybe in people you've worked with is they've told you that they feel a bit maybe bigger.
Bloated if they do every day.
Yeah. Okay. Any other supplement people should be looking at?
You should test your vitamin D levels, and if they're not high enough, you should supplement with vitamin D. It's very important for hormonal levels and for having healthy hormonal levels, both at the level of controlling cortisol, but also at a level of growth hormones such as testosterone and progesterone.
Super interesting. That's it on my side. We've spoken for a while. It was I learned some great things, and maybe from now on I should take a second look at how I'm doing my workouts. Maybe I should increase a bit the amount of hard days a month. Um, but sometimes life gets in the way, you know. Finding
Definitely.
90 minutes of time during the week to go to the gym. You during the week it's tough. I don't think I could do it, but maybe my Saturdays and Sundays can be a bit more harsher in the gym. Um, but thank you, Juan. I really appreciate our conversation. It was quite nice to have you in the podcast. First guest, and I'm sure you're gonna be around discussing a lot of other things that I'm eager and looking forward to speak with you about.
Nico, I'm so happy that you're starting this journey. I definitely think you have a lot of potential, and the world can benefit a lot of the conversations that you might have with different people.
I think
I
so too.
wish you the best of luck, and I hope you keep them coming because I have very big expectations, but not really expectations. I trust that your podcast is going to be a source of very nice things for the world.
Thanks, Wansi. Have a good day. Bye bye.
Have a good day. Bye bye.